Official mic test 1 2 3 1 2 3. Official mic test 1 2 3 1 2 3. Goons mic test 1 2 3 1 2 3. Goons mic test 1 2 3 1 2 3.
No, they said they're good.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just kind of Room.
Because I removed my camera completely.
I see.
Just once in like one drop. Yeah, so
Is it live streaming?
yes, it's live streaming.
Live streaming to where?
To another to the Asia, yeah.
Oh yeah?
To like country.
You're Korean? Are you Korean?
I'm not Korean. I'm not Korean.
I like all that. Is Grace the same age?
Yeah? What kind of colors do you like?
What's that?
Jazz?
Whatever you want. Yeah, whatever. should be okay. Yeah. Just make sure it didn't block you. I just brought your camera. I don't want to block your camera.
of Grace and Esli. I need to ask you to do me a big favor, and that is get your phones out, and please do this. Check them and make sure they're silenced. Please check, because everybody thinks they've got it turned off. It's really irritating, embarrassing for you, but I don't want you to get about 35 dirty looks if your phone goes off in the middle of the ceremony, and then put them away. This is what we call a switched off wedding. You just get to sit back and enjoy. As you can tell, we've got more cameramans than at a Disney movie, so we've got it covered, believe me. And they will share with you, so just put the phones away, and just, like I say, just sit back and enjoy. That, by the way, is Esli and Grace's request, not my instructions, so please honor them in that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to begin. Here today on behalf of Grace and Esli. And I want to begin by asking a really important question of the two families that are represented here today. And the question is going to be, I don't want you to answer yet because I want to explain this question, but families, parents especially, the question is going to be, do you give your blessing? But I want to explain the day is we love you too. We want the very, very best for you. We promise we're always going to support you in this commitment that you're making to each other as husband and wife. We're going to be praying for you, and we are cheering you on today. So parents, that's a really important question. And I know this is a big day for you. Moms, probably a hard day to kind of let go, but it's an exciting day. And so I want to ask Grace's family, Esli's family, do you give your blessing to this marriage? Yes, you do. Now, I'm going to pray in a moment, Grace and Esli, but before I do, I need to ask you to do me a couple of favors. First of all, I need you to close a whole bunch of files for me. A whole bunch of files in your minds. The planning has kind of been all over the place over the last week, as everyone here knows. But you know what? That's behind you. Close that file. The weather, you should actually go into the wedding planning business. Grace, very good job. Perfect for photos outside afterwards, so close that file. Hair and makeup, turned out beautiful. You both look amazing today. Close that file. And I mean this seriously because it is so easy to stand here at the altar and just have a million files open in your minds. And then tomorrow morning you wake up and you say, gee, do you remember anything about our ceremony? That'd be a real shame if that had happened. Because this is really probably the most pivotal moment in all of your lives. And I want to begin with a prayer that for the two of you, to sing together, so I hope you brought your singing voices along. They are in the little programs you were given on the way in. Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. We're going to do 3 verses of it as you see there. So let's sing.
Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon a mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, there by great help I've come. And I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger, interposed his precious blood. 주의 귀한 은혜 받고 일생 빚진 자들을 주의 은혜 사슬되사 나를 주께 매소서. 우리 마음은 연약하며 범죄하기 쉬우니 하나님이 받으시고 천국인을 치소서.
Man, thank you. Be seated. In case any of you happen to be looking up this way and thinking this is really weird, the pastor's not singing. It's because I've got two mics on and the best editors could not possibly make my voice sound good, you two, so I did you a favor. No, we just didn't have words here, which was our fault, but beautiful singing. Esli, Grace, before I let you say your marriage vows to each other today, I want to take you back to a passage of Scripture that we're all familiar with. But I really hope today you catch two or three things from this incident in Jesus' ministry that will really speak to you. In fact, I pray that it speaks to all of us here today, and I pray that you never forget it. Now, it's the very first miracle that we have record of that Jesus ever performed, and it was at a wedding. And I think it's pretty cool that the very first miracle that Jesus did in his earthly ministry was at a wedding. I don't know what that says, but there's something that says to me that his heart is in weddings. You know, I've been doing weddings for a lot of years, and I've noticed one thing, that there are certain people that no matter what time you put on the invitations, they will always be late. You know, they just never get anywhere on time. There are certain cultures even that are bad for that. Koreans are always on time everywhere. So, but you know, I do know that, you know, there are just some people that no matter what, they're going to walk in late. But I've noticed another thing, that there are some people that will always be the first ones to show up because they want to get a good seat. They want to get a good vantage point to be able to watch the bride walking down the aisle and to see the groom's tears as he's sniffling out the vows, and just, you know, every part, they want to be in a good spot. But one thing I can tell you, Esli, Grace, is that Jesus was here before anyone else today.
Okay.
Because he truly loves what you two are doing. At this wedding, they made a very serious cultural faux pas. They ran out of wine in the middle of the celebration. And in that culture, that was a big no-no. But before we get to that part of it, and what happened that day at that wedding, I want to back up just a little bit. Because the main thing that I really want you to catch from that story, we've got a lot of Christians that are gathered here, some that maybe haven't been in church for a while, and that's cool. I'm okay with that. Come to church on Sunday, but no matter what, you know, probably some of the seasoned, you know, we've got seasoned believers here. There's one verse in this story that I bet you maybe no one in this room today has even really caught. It's what I call kind of a throwaway verse in the Bible. They're just these little verses that we just sort of skip over and we don't think anything of it. But Grace, Esli, there's no such thing as a throwaway verse in the Bible. And I think one of the key verses in this passage is in John chapter 2, verse 2. It says, Jesus was at the wedding because he'd been invited. Did you ever notice that before? Most of us haven't. But what a cool thing that is. Now, looking around the room, I think everybody looks like they're probably supposed to be here today. But one thing I can tell you is Jesus is not a wedding crasher. And Esli and Grace, one of the very first things that you have to do is you have to make it a point that yours is going to be a Christ-centered marriage. You've got to invite him to be part of what you're doing today. He was there because he'd been invited. Well, because he'd been invited to be part of that marriage, that relationship, he was there when they needed him. So they ran out of wine in the middle of the ceremony or the celebrations, And they started freaking out because, like I said, that would have been such a big embarrassment. And so, Mary happened to be there, and even though Jesus hadn't really begun his earthly ministry up to that point, she said, talk to my son, maybe he can do something for you. And so when they went to him, there's a couple of things that I want you to notice. The first thing is Jesus did not chew them out for their failure, because they did kind of blow it that day. But he did not give them a rough time because they had messed up. And you know what that tells me is he knows that we're not perfect. Esli, I know. Good answer. I didn't cue him to say that. But thank God that it's all recorded, because now you can play it back to him, guys. And no offense, but we're not perfect people in a perfect world. And that's the heart of the gospel message. He knows that. He's okay with it. But he asked him a really important question that day. He said, what have you got to work with? He didn't just say, okay, I'm going to, just wave my hands and all of a sudden wine is going to appear. He said, what have you got to work with? Now, their answer to me is the heart of this miracle. It's the heart of this story. And again, I think it's one that we often overlook. But they said to him, well, geez, actually all we've got is wash water. And that's what it was. It was ceremonial wash water that they had to work with. You know what that tells me? Is that he's saying, Grace, Esli, what have you got to work with? What are you bringing to this marriage? No offense, you guys, but maybe you just have to say, Jesus, all we got to work with is wash water. And you know what? He worked with it. First time I heard that story or read through it, I thought, Jesus, you've got to be kidding me. Like, couldn't you have used Whistler sparkling spring water or something purified, distilled? Wash water? Are you kidding me? But that's really the heart of this message. He's trying to say to you today is that, you know what? I can take your imperfections, your shortcomings, and I can turn this relationship into something that is way beyond anything that you've dreamed of. But you have to keep him at the heart of it. So they brought the wash water, and he turned that water into the most amazing wine that they'd ever tasted. So, Esli, Grace, I need to challenge you today. Keep Christ at the center of this relationship. And I know today that that's your desire, but you got to work for that. You got to contend to that. Before I was married, I was challenged by listening to a preacher one day that was talking about how to live a fulfilled Christian marriage. And he said this one thing that Carmelita and I have never forgotten, and we've hardly ever missed this. He said, pray together every day. That doesn't mean you go over into your corner, Esli, and pray, and Grace, you go over into your corner and pray. No, pray together. It doesn't have to be real long, but just pray, because there's something that happens when you come together in your hearts in prayer before him that's going to draw you closer together. And this preacher said, if you skip a day, he said, don't ever miss 2. Because now it's so easy that you've started a pattern that you do not want to repeat. And that's part of how you keep Christ at the center of your relationship. Have you ever noticed when you read the Bible account of creation that we have no idea how long Adam lived until Eve was brought forth to be his lifelong soulmate? But there's never a mention of Adam being tempted by the enemy until Eve came into the picture. And you may think, well, what are you trying to say, Alan? Here's what I'm trying to say. I don't think the enemy was scared until he saw Eve and he saw the potential of a God-centered relationship. And that's when he freaked out. There is an enemy. And so you two have to learn how to fight that enemy together. And I just want to tell you that I really believe that's why Christ is so excited about what you're doing today, is that this is really the culmination of God's design and plan for you guys. Now, when we stand at the marriage altar, and if we were doing this in the eastern side of Canada today, or Korea, really anywhere in the world, It's always assumed that you're making a lifelong commitment. It's kind of cool in every culture of the world, no matter what country you go to, no matter what faith group even. Every society, marriage is assumed to be a lifelong commitment. But I need to hear you say that today. So Esli, I want to ask you first of all, do you take Grace to be your lawfully wedded wife, to live together with her in lifelong companionship and commitment?
I do.
Grace, do you take Esli to be your lawfully wedded husband, to live together with him in lifelong companionship and commitment?
I do.
You take your flowers. I want you guys to face each other and join. Esli, I'd like you to repeat after me, please. Grace,
Grace,
all that I am,
all that I am,
all that I have,
all that I have,
I promise to you.
I promise to you.
I promise to love you,
I promise to love you,
honor you,
honor you,
care for you, and keep you
care for you, and keep you
through all
through,
of the trials
through all the trials
and circumstances of life.
and circumstances of life.
I promise to be faithful
I promise to be faithful
to you alone
to you alone
for as long as we both shall live.
for as long as we both shall live.
Grace, I'd like you to repeat after me, please. Esli,
Esli,
all that I am,
all that I am,
all that I have,
all that I have,
I promise to you.
I promise to you.
I promise to love you,
I promise to love you,
honor you,
honor you,
care for you, and keep you
care for you, and keep you
through all of the trials
through all of the trials
and circumstances of life.
and circumstances of life.
I promise to be faithful
I promise to be faithful
to you alone
to you alone
for as long as we both shall live.
for as long as we both shall live.
Now I know you two have some of your own vows today. Esli, go for it.
All right? I'm not going to cry, I promise. Dear Grace, my Taki. Wow, we made it. We finally made it. This may not be the ceremony we originally planned, but through God's will, He allowed us to be united in marriage today. So I first give glory to God and give thanks. Ever since we met for the first time in Boston and throughout the pandemic environment, getting to this point was not easy, as you and I live literally on the opposite sides of the country, Vancouver and Fredericton. We've gone through some tough times, but I also remember the fun things, like playing Don't Starve together and trying to kill the mosquito boss. And when we watched and binge-watched all the Marvel movies. Just as I've been with you through the highs and lows so far, I promise to do the same for you for the rest of our lives. And I know I cannot do this alone. As we've seen, replanning this wedding required lots of help from family and friends. So my vow to you is this, that I will love you just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy. I cannot be perfect, but I will walk in the journey toward perfection with you. As the Lord is my witness today, and me as a witness for Christ, I love you. You're Jackie.
I managed not to cry so far. Esli, since the first day I met you, I have found a lot of surprises. Before I met you, I've never known anyone who's in the military. Didn't know there was a city called Fredericton in Canada. And didn't know that I was going to be in a long-distance relationship for so long, barely seeing the other person physically. But I also never knew that I would feel this much connected to anyone. And there could be someone who accepts me and loves me for all that I am. You always say that you don't remember this, but I do clearly remember when you asked me out officially by saying that you want to build a family with me. I found this so strange, but at the same time, very trusting for some reason. And I knew that you are the person God has led me to. I remember that I was praying God and asking that, God, I know that you have prepared my spouse somewhere. If he's not in Vancouver, I'm willing to go anywhere. But I didn't expect that it would be somewhere more than 5,000 kilometers away. Esli, you're everything that I prayed for and much more than that. You're handsome, smart, genuine, respectful, and a person who has the cutest dimples. Thank you for always supporting me and loving me unconditionally. I know that I haven't always made that easy. I stand here today on the day one of our family that puts Jesus Christ first. I promise to be faithful to you, will love you without any reservation or conditions, always care for you and have your back through all of the uncertainties and trials of life. In our version of Don't Starve Together, I look forward to going out to the field and pick up logs and berries together, come home and cook delicious or creative meals in our crock pots, and fighting our own burger and beer clubs, and above all, glorifying our God together through all of it. Thank you in advance for organizing my untidiness.
Yeah.
I love you, and just remember that I'm by your side every single step of the way. With love, Grace.
I got you.
You're about to exchange rings. And I want you to notice that the moment you place these on each other's fingers, they make a statement. You know, all you have to do is do that, and it says so much. Like when you proposed, Esli, you did propose, didn't you?
Yes.
Good. Hey, it's 2022. You've got to check and make sure, but I'm glad to hear that you did. And yes, that engagement ring was part of it. So think about this for just a second, Grace. First time that you went home, let's say, and showed Mom or Grace here, you know, just would have to do that and think for a second, maybe jumping up and down too. Without you saying a word, what does that say? It says that Esli proposed. I said yes, because you had two choices that day. We know what the answer was, because we're here. It says that we're going to the altar, we're going to be husband and wife, we're going to spend the rest of our lives together. Isn't that amazing? It makes such a statement. I noticed we've got a few little pinky rings up here. That makes a statement. I know as soon as I see that. Engineer, you know, and so rings have, for a long time, been a statement of something. And you're going to place these rings on each other's fingers. And it says, we have been to the altar. We've made a lifelong covenant commitment to each other. We're husband and wife. But I want you to notice a couple of things about them. Number one, they're made of a very costly material, right? Yes. Much more costly than those pinky rings that you've got on, you know. No offense, there's really rich symbolism in that.
Cost $40.
Yeah, exactly.
If you lose it.
But they make these a very costly material for a reason, because it's to be a symbol of a very pure relationship, and a relationship that really you can't put a price on. And then I also want you to know this is one last thing, that when you place it on, really what it says is there's no one I'd rather spend the rest of my life with than you. So I want you to wear them with pride.
Yes.
Just take this in your left hand this way. Just kind of dip your hands up a bit. Just like that. Esli, I'd like you to repeat after me, please. Grace,
Grace,
I give you this ring
I give you this ring
as a symbol of our love
as a symbol of our love
and the vows
and the vows
we have made this day.
we have made this day.
Grace, I'd like you to repeat after me, please. Esli,
Esli,
I give you this ring
I give you this ring
as a symbol of our love
as a symbol of our love
and the vows
and the vows
we have made this day.
we have made this day.
Let's join hands one more time, you guys. Yes. Esli and Grace, just before I pronounce you husband and wife, I want to tell you, and this is a prayer, but it's really just from me to the two of you. And again, I know that everyone joins with me in this prayer. My prayer for the two of you is that God blesses you with a long life and good health, but more importantly, a journey together that grows stronger and richer as the years go by. I pray that there's a lot of joy in your relationship. In fact, I encourage you, I challenge you, in fact, work hard at building as much joy into this relationship as you can. You know, the word says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. I pray joy in your journey, but I really pray that you walk in the very center of God's purpose and plan for your lives, and that His blessing and salvation rest upon your household and the generations that follow after you. It's a privilege today to be able to pronounce you husband and wife. Esli, you may kiss your beautiful bride.
가만히 있어봐.
In case some of you are wondering, most of you probably know exactly what's happening here, but Esli and Grace are about to partake in communion together. It's really just going to be kind of private, just two of them doing this, which is really cool because it's really the first thing they are doing together as husband and wife, is celebrating communion together, serving each other actually. But you know, on the night that, well, let me just say this, you two. I know that until you kind of get things all sorted out and figure out where it is you're going to live together as husband and wife, because I know there's some things that you still need to tie down here in Vancouver, and you'll probably visit Fredericton, and you may think I don't want to stay here too long, but no, I'm just joking. I'm sure it's a beautiful
No,
place.
it's accurate.
But unfortunately, but it's just the way it is. You know, there are going to be those seasons that you're going to be apart for a little bit. Jesus was about to return to heaven and leave his disciples, you know, and that was hard for them. Just the same as it's going to be hard for you tomorrow night to get on a plane and have to head back east. But he said to them, there's a reason for this. He said, but I want to give you something to hold on to that you can remember me by for that time that we're apart. And that's really what you two need to do. Is just have those things that you just kind of embrace, you know, because really what this is, it's almost like leaving a photograph, you know, because when we partake of the bread and the wine, it's just like a picture that we're looking at of what Jesus did for us. What an incredible memory that is. And like he said, this is my body. And there's two different translations of the verse around the bread. One of them said, this is my body which is broken for you. But actually, I believe one of the most accurate translations is, this is my body which is given for you. See, his life wasn't taken from him. He gave it willingly. And in your vows, even, Esli, you said, I promise, just as Christ loved the church, I promise to give my life for you. And that's what it really takes, is for you to say, I'm going to live my life for you from this day on. But this is that memory for you of what Jesus did for you on that day. Mary, I'm just going to ask you to play really quietly, just as Esli and Grace take communion. So just break a piece of that and give a piece to him. Okay, perfect. We pray together if you want.
Sounds pretty
This time I want to call on Esli's father, Pastor Choi. Come on up.
감사합니다.
Thank you, everyone.
오늘 제가 여러분들에게 몇 가지 말씀드릴 거를 제 딸 레이첼이 통역하겠습니다.
So there are some words that he wants to share, and his daughter, as his sister, will do some translating.
먼저 귀한 결혼 예배를 허락하신 하나님께 감사와 찬양을 올려드립니다.
So first of all, we want to raise our thanks and our gratitude and our prayers, or our praise to God for allowing this marriage to happen.
오늘 결혼 예식 예배를 인도하신 알란 목사님과 우리 참석해 주신 모든 친가, 친지, 친구들에게 감사를 드립니다.
So we also want to thank Pastor Allen, friends, family who have been able to stay and celebrate this union with us today.
새롭게 시작하는 그레이스 에슬리 가족에게 앞날에 하나님의 축복이 항상 함께 하시기를 소망합니다.
We want to wish all the best for the new couple, the newlyweds, Esli and Grace, with their bright future, and always happiness, always.
새 가정이 하나님께서 세우신 가정으로 하나님의 뜻을 잘 이루어갈 수 있도록 기도해 주시기를 부탁합니다.
So as this newlywed begins their journey, we hope that we'll join in prayer and support this couple as they continue their journey in Christ.
감사합니다. 예식 후에 작은 식사를 준비했습니다. 식당 이름은 썬수이 식당입니다. 원하시는 분들은 참석하시기 바랍니다.
So unfortunately, there's no formal reception, but there will be a small meal prepared or ready for us for whoever would like to attend at Sun Suiwa Chinese restaurant.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand.
인사를 하고 나갈까?
Let me explain what's about to happen because it kind of involves all of you. I'm going to introduce the newlyweds, and they're going to sneak back into the bride's room, actually. And the rest of you, I want you to let the wedding party go ahead, and then parents, and you follow their example. We're going to form two lines down the edges of the sidewalk, right out here toward the sunken garden area. As soon as you're all outside and have a nice, neat line there, we are going to bring the newlyweds to the door. You're going to clap and cheer, and we're going to get some amazing footage and some good photos. And then there's probably going to be, are we coming back inside to do some photos, or?
We can.
Okay,
Yeah.
There's going to be some group photos, so don't run away unless you are a wedding crasher. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to introduce Esli and Grace for the very first time. You all know them, but I get to do this for the first time in their new relationship as husband and wife. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs.
인사 먼저 할까? 감사합니다. live stream. 방송. Hi everyone, this is Grace and Esli here. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube and Facebook channel. Thank you for tuning in. I know it was last minute, unfortunately, last minute planning that we had to do this, but I really thank you for joining into the stream and watching our marriage in Christ. Thank you. Shout out to Sheepgate. Shout out to U of T. Shout out to Fredericton Korean Church. 감사합니다.
Thank you everyone to joining online, even though there were a lot of changes, and thank you for your patience. Just you basically said anything, everything. So 한국에 있는 가족분들, 친구분들 감사드립니다. 이렇게 많은 체인지가 있었는데도 이렇게 기다려주시고 같이 이렇게 온라인으로나마 같이 할 수 있어서 너무 기쁘고요. 감사하고 축복합니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you.